much better now. I have more patience. I'm not I'm not always angry.
Jason, how did you find Carnivore?
But that's that in and of itself was fun and exciting. Like most people, it was. I was like, I think it was doom scrolling through TikTok or YouTube Shorts, and of course, I came across a Joe Rogan Experience clip, and it wasn't the one everyone talks about. It did not. It wasn't Jordan Peterson. It wasn't Sean Baker. It was actually him talking to a comedian, John Papa. And I don't know if you know him. He's a very pleasant faced man. They're talking about him making sourdough, and then somehow they got on the topic of the carnivore diet and the unfortunate adaptation period that they talk about.
This is the one I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and that actually triggered a memory because I do remember seeing a longer clip of him talking to Sean Baker about the carnivore diet, and I went back to look for it because at the time this would have been about October November of 2023, and I had put on a substantial amount of weight at that time. I wasn't really paying attention to my health in general. I was just trying to make it through my work days and get done and pay the bills and all that stuff. Because you know how, as the mill turns, you just try to keep up with the bar, as it were. And I thought, well, that's really interesting that people can do that, and that stuck in my head because at the end of the year, I went on my Christmas break. I work in the IT sector of finance, and uh, end of year is always what they call a code freeze because they don't put any implementation changes in because they don't want anything to affect the possible reporting of year end and things like that. So nobody does anything in that sector for December, May, and January for the most part. So I usually took an extended Christmas break, and I did that this year, as it were. And during that, everyone in the house got sick. I got COVID. My wife got COVID. The boys, the youngest twin, he came down with chicken pox at the beginning of the Christmas break, and then his brother got like strep throat, and then I got COVID, and then my wife got COVID, and then we were all finally almost healthy by the time New Year's was around, and then the youngest, the eldest, got chicken pox just before going back to school, and I wasn't going back to work till January 8th, and also my wife's Eastern Orthodox uh, Catholic, and I'm so there was another Christmas on the 7th that we had. So on the 6th, I decided, hey, I discovered the scale hidden under the bathtub, and I decided, well, you know what, I haven't looked at my weight in a while. And I pulled it out, stepped on it, and the number scared the crap out of me because it was 131.1 kilogram. Now, yeah, yeah, so that works out to 289 pounds. I still don't remember what that was, and I have didn't realize that I had gotten that big. Um, it it showed, like my face was puffy, like I looked like I had been stung by 1,000 bees, basically. Like I had a big swollen head in my, and I didn't really want to be that way anymore because I knew my health had been deteriorating. And I was pre-diabetic, like for 2 or 3 blood tests throughout the years. So I think the first time the doctor mentioned pre-diabetic, it was 2022. He said, you gotta watch that. You're in a danger zone for having type 2 diabetes. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like I don't need a lot of sugar anyway, and at least I didn't think I did. But perception is one way street. Sometimes you're just looking down the barrel that you want to see. So like I don't drink much anymore. I barely have a beer a week anymore. I might have a glass of wine every other day or something. But how could I be pre-diabetic? I don't I don't eat that way. So I said, okay, whatever. And because my cholesterol was not bad, it was a little high, they said. And then just before that, June of 2023, I got a blood test. And he says, okay, well, we want to put you on a statin, and we want, you're still pre-diabetic. You really got to worry about that. And was like, so that was weighing me down. But then when I got on that scale and it said 131.1, I was like, that's 289 pounds. I've never been that big. Like I put on weight with my first marriage due to stress and trying to cope with the stress of that situation that I was in at the time. And I got up to 274 pounds, which is about 124. And that number stuck in my head. And I was like, okay, well, I'm never getting that big again. Because then, the marriage ended and I had time on my hands. I was 30 something years old and nothing else to do but go to the gym and work out. So I was able to lose a lot of weight within a year. That was from calorie restriction and, the thing I was still eating the seed oils. And then I restricted my eating windows and whatnot. And that helped me dump the weight then. But I'm now 52 years old. I've got two 5-year-old kids and my wife to support. I don't have time to go to the gym for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week like I did then. I've got to come up with something that'll work. And I'm also, my back's bad. I blew up my bicep with the boys when I was younger, trying to carry them up the stairs, almost tripping. So that, and it was like, well, how am I going to do this? I was not only frustrated, I was quite frankly scared because also my mental health had deteriorated as well. Like I was just holding on day to day. I'm just keeping going because I got kids. That's the only reason. There's no joy in it for me at all at that point anymore. I just didn't want to face the turmoil that I put myself into. But then when I got to that point, I said I've got to do something, and that was like, okay, well, I heard about this. So this was, I think, like January 6th that I stepped on the scale, and like it wasn't a panic attack, but it was cold water in the face that you just go, this has to change, and I don't have any more time. I'm like, you always think I can, tomorrow, I can start on that tomorrow, but then you realize, no, I'm 52. This isn't going to get better if I wait another week or another month. So I'm 50. I'm now 52 years old. My scale is telling me I'm dangerously overweight, and when I check the numbers, I'm technically morbidly obese at this point because I'm 5'11". My BMI was 42 point something, and that, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's when and because the doctors were telling me, you gotta drop the weight. So I was like, but how am I going to do that at this age in this state of health? Because I had been walking the boys to school just before the Christmas break, and I would have to take a break. My back hurt so much, and the school from our house is about 550 meters, and I'd walk them there, drop them off at school, and go to walk home. And I wouldn't get halfway back home when I'd have to stop and just take a break and let my back rest because there was so much pain in my back from just that little walk. I was so out of shape. I was dangerously out of shape, and I'm thinking, how am I can't go for a jog. I can't like I used to. Like I can't. I can barely do anything. How am I going to get the weight off? And I said, well, you don't have to do anything. That's carnivore, and it's true. You really don't have to exercise heavily on the carnivore diet. And I thought, okay, well, maybe if I can start losing some pounds, then I'll start being able to be more active. I hope, because that was my only hope, is I needed to get the weight off. And I just pulled the trigger one day. I think it was January 18th. I said, bam, carnivore. I'm doing it. I did a lot. Like I watched a lot of videos between that date and the day I pulled the trigger. Like so many videos. I found the first, I think, the one that really made me go, I can do this was Kerry from Homestead How. I think I saw his 30-day video, and then I saw the one like the 91 or thing when he's lost like 60 pounds and whatnot, and then also the Ferrigno. I always forget his first name.
Dante.
Dante Ferrigno. Yeah, I found him and like his 30-day video too. And then of course, then you find, Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson. And then I found Dr. Ken Berry. I found your channel as well with people's testimonials and like listening very intently on what's going on, how to approach it, what to be wary of, especially that first 2 weeks which everyone, we kind of gloss over because it's not a pleasant conversation, but it happens. And for me, it only lasted a couple of days because I was supplementing my electrolytes and making sure that, things were staying in balance. I was also, I supplement iodine, which has been because, like, when I was saying I was deteriorating health, like, uh, at 19, I developed ulcerative proctitis, and then by 21, I had ulcerative colitis, full blown, just like my father, who had developed it the same, full blown ulcerative colitis. So I've had problems with my digestive tract since I was a young man. 27, 28, I became hypothyroid, which my mother has and my sister. So I'm getting all the benefits of all the bad DNA, apparently. But I don't actually know that I'm supplementing and my iodine. I don't think it's a genetic thing. I think it is a problem with diet because in North America, where I grew up and developed my dietary things before, is that the iodine supplementation they provide in salt and whatnot is just there to prevent gout. It's not there to uh, maintain health. There's a fine line there that a lot of the clinicians that talk and you listen to say you can have much more iodine than what you're getting, and you'll still be fine. And you actually need iodine for so much in part of your health makeup. Is that especially your thyroid function. Your thyroid relies on iodine quite heavily. And when I first got diagnosed, my doctor said, "Well, your thyroid's like pumping away like crazy, but it's not producing anything." Like my T4 was the lowest she'd ever seen in her practice. My doctor at the time, back in sort of in 99, 2000, he goes, "This is the lowest number I've ever seen on a patient." And then, oh, that's comforting. I was on a record. It's like, you really don't have to put it in that kind of picture for me. Okay, I don't want to be a trendsetter in this regard. So, but now that I'm supplementing, like my last blood test that I did, my serum level production is normal, and it hasn't been normal in like 20 years, almost. And my T4 is now too high because I take T4, I take levothyroxine, which is a T4 supplement. Now it's too high. So I'm going for a blood test next week to check my thyroid levels again to see if I should not reduce my dosage, which I'm hoping for, because what I'd like to see, or what I'm hoping for, is that my thyroid returns to normal function. Because when you're hypothyroidism, you get the afternoon nap. You get the afternoon naps. That's what, like, I developed carpal tunnel because thyroid also helps regulate your myelin production in your body. So a lot of people who are hypothyroid actually get carpal tunnel quite easily. And I wasn't doing a lot of keyboarding. I guess I work on computers all the time, but it's not like I'm banging out code 8 hours a day or anything. I'm just typing in numbers and moving the mouse around. Like, getting carpal tunnel was thing, and that's why she ordered the blood test to check my thyroid. And said, "Oh yeah, you're hypothyroid." And I, oh, okay. And then years, blood testing them over and over again. It's like, yeah, it's still, your thyroid's over functioning but not producing any hormones. So that's why And again, I was also falling asleep at my desk all the time. I learned how to work at my desk like this. So that it looked like I was awake, but I was sleeping. Don't tell them that. But that's years ago though. But yeah, and so that whole process, and then going carnivore within, I think the first 3 days, my snoring came down, and I could enjoy my meal when I ate it, as the 3 years leading up to this decision, every meal, every dinner was an agony to digest. Like, it just felt like I swallowed a balloon. And my wife looked at that was my phrase. I think I feel like I swallowed a balloon. And I feel bloated, and I thought I had gallstones. And because my mother suffered from gallstones too, and so I was like, oh, there's something else I got. But it wasn't. It was just all the garbage that I was eating, and there was a lot of garbage. Like, that was the other thing. After about day 30, day 60, I realized I'm still having cravings, but it's not real. it's an addiction. That was the thing that I really came to think. I have a food addiction. I can't just eat a meal and think, no, I got to eat everything. I could finish off a 15-inch pizza on my own without even breaking a sweat. Like that was the thing. It was like there's a place here that they have a two for deal. So if you order one 15-inch pizza, you get the second one for a reduced price. And it was like, yeah, no problem. I get a 15-inch meat treat pizza with all the meats, and then I get one my wife would like, and then I'd eat 2/3 of mine easily if I remember that I like cold pizza for breakfast the next day. If I was hungry, I'd leave 2 slices. Didn't even bother me at all. And then also with the COVID lockdown and everything, I was working from home a lot. So I'd be working from home, and I'd come downstairs and make my lunch, which would be like 4 tuna fish sandwiches, and I'd steal a bowl. I grab a sleeve of fig rolls. It was like fig Newtons for everyone in North America, and that would be normal lunch.
So, yeah, how did that time affect you being locked down? Because that for me, that was one of the worst times when I
Yeah,
really indulged.
yeah, no, yeah. I probably put on the COVID-20, as people said, and I already had I had the marriage 10 or 15 from when my from getting married, and then I had the pregnancy 20 from when my wife got pregnant, and I like at one point we had almost the same size bellies, and my wife had twins, so just put that in perspective. She was huge, and I tried to keep up. I'm somewhat weirdly competitive that way, I guess. I don't know. Uh, and but yeah, and I had gotten dangerously out of shape, and dangerously in a bad health position, and I just couldn't figure out what to do. Except I found Carnivore, and pulled the trigger because I want to be around for my boys to grow up and see them get married and have kids. Because that was the biggest tragedy for me, was that my dad died before the boys were born, because um, we had been trying for a few years, and then we had to go to IVF, obviously, because modern times and what everyone's eating her. She has PCOS. Uh, I According to the fertility clinic we went to, because we tried the NHS version here in the UK, that if you're under 40 and having trouble conceiving, the NHS will help you go through a round or two of IVF. But we were already we matured out of that. So our second round, we went to a private fertility clinic, and like we tested again, and he said my sperm's okay, not a high count though. Like, but quality wise, they're fine. But just not as many as there could be, and that's probably down to diet. I'm also an ex-smoker at that time too. Like that does not help you fertility wise. So, but we got through that, and we had our kids. But like we had started that journey off, and so we started trying to conceive in 2013. By 2015, we were recommended to them, but my father passed shortly after that, at that time. So it wasn't a fun time. But then we got we got our boys, and then that was great in the thing. But then 2018 they were born. 2019, my wife's husband. 2019. Her father passed, so they lost their grandfathers.
So you decide to go carnivore, and
Yeah, get back on
you
that
do
track.
it from January,
Yeah, January 18th was the day I pulled the trigger.
right?
Yeah,
And
and full
what
carnivore
what's
day one.
happened? What's
Well, like I
happened in the
said,
meantime?
so yeah, from that day. So like in the first week, I was able to enjoy eating a dinner again, not having bowel discomfort as normal. My snoring like almost stopped immediately. And then I think in about 2 weeks' time, I dropped probably about 10 kilos in that first 10, 15 days. Like it was all inflammation, water weight. Yeah, it was
That's
startlingly quick.
fast.
Yeah, there was a lot of weight really quick. And then it slowed down, and I was like thankful for that because I recognized like that's a lot to come off that quickly, and I was like, like I don't want to be keeling over, but I was like I said, I started supplementing almost right away, so I had electrolytes and the iodine, and it was fine, but then like okay, and then the mass starts coming off, and you start to and you start to feel better, like that's the most remarkable thing for me is like the lifting of the brain fog, as they say, and the clarity of thought that comes in the beginning is amazing. So I felt better about it, especially getting into it and then losing that weight really quickly, really fast, because I was carrying a lot of water weight apparently, and then slowly it keeps coming off, but it increments down, and I'm still losing weight. Like I'm now down to this as of this morning 101.9. Yeah, so I'm over 29 kilos down from January, and it's not June yet. So in the 4 or 5 months that I've been doing this, I've lost 29 kilos, 60 some odd pounds, like 4 stone. But as the weight was coming off, the energy comes. And that's the biggest boon that you can get with this is that suddenly I don't feel like I'm dragging my butt around the house anymore. I'm going out for a walk. Uh, and as it kept going, it kept rolling and rolling. So now, like on my days when I do a resistance workout, I do a circuit, and then I do that, and then on that day I have a light walk, which is about 4 or 5 clicks. And on the days where I'm not doing resistance, I go for a long walk, which is now 10 clicks. And yeah, from a guy who could barely walk to the end of his own street like 6 months ago, 7 months ago, now I'm doing 10Ks on my off day. Yeah. And like I'm like, okay, well I gotta start running soon because this is taking too long. It's almost a 2 hour walk I'm going for.
You're not in yeah, I mean, I understand as a father
Yeah,
as well, you've got other things that you need to be taken care of, but that
care of,
must be
yeah.
a nice 2 hours of thinking time, right?
Yeah, it is my quiet time. I put my headphones in. I got my playlist from from the 80s, 90s, and early knots that I listened to, and I go for my walk and I just stroll around, and I'm just I know my neighborhood very well now because like I don't want to go too far away because if something comes on, I want to be able to get back home within 10 minutes or so. So like my path, I go up and down almost every street in our neighborhood. I'm sure our neighbors are starting to wonder who's this guy who walks by every other day. Because like on my long walk, I literally have to double back on almost every street in order to get the mileage in. Basically, it's like okay, I did 8 Ks. I guess I'm gonna have to go up and down this street twice, kind of thing. Yeah, because and it's a nice neighborhood where there's like a couple of hills, so I'm going uphill a few times and going downhill a few times, so it feels like a good long walk, and it doesn't get boring that way. But I wouldn't want to be trying this without the change in my lifestyle because it's a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. I really dislike the term carnivore diet because it's not, because when people hear that, oh, this is something you're doing to lose weight. No, this is something I'm doing to maintain my health. This is my regime now. This is my dietary regime is animal products because I don't have any allergies or anything like other people may have. Like I don't have any histamine issues. Like so, aged beef is fine. That's tasty. I'm fine with that. Like I'm a huge fan of venison. Like I used to deer hunt when I was back in Canada, and there's nothing better than deer, as far as I'm concerned. But it's hard to come by here. It's not insanely expensive in the UK. But yeah, and I'll eat fish. I love fish, sardines, everything like that. I don't feel restricted because that's the other big question you get when you tell people, well, isn't that boring? Like, no, it's steak. Have you ever seen someone grumpy eating a steak? No, I haven't. I've not personally. I've never seen someone in a bad mood, after finishing a steak. Oh, that was terrible. No, it was a steak. Come on, it's good food. and you like it. So that's part of the whole change in attitude as well. Like my wife said immediately after about 4 or 5 days, is like your mood's improved tremendously. Like because yeah, like this face is a face that's easy to show anger. It's it's I'm not angry. It's just my face. When I smile, I look fine, but when I'm this is normal, no expression. Doesn't necessarily bode welcome, as one of my friends said. Uh, so I was like, fine, but I feel better now, and I'm happy about things, and it's a great change of attitude because before I was like I was in a dark place. I was in a very dark place getting before I got I changed over, and my kids noticed. Dad's happier, and I'm very happy that my kids are happier because they stopped calling me Daddy Pig. Because that's how they refer to me, Daddy Pig. And if you know
Daddy
Peppa Pig,
Pig.
then you know that it's yeah, Peppa Pig's Daddy Pig. Yeah, that's what they like to call me. So, and recently, that was the other funny thing is that my one son goes, "Hey, Dad, you don't have a big belly anymore." Thanks, son.
It's nice.
Same with their
When the
youngest son.
kids notice,
Yeah,
it's happening, right?
yeah. It's been a great change for the whole family that way. Especially now that, like I said, after 30 days, the weight had come off. My mood had improved. I was doing much better mentally than everything. And then 60 days rolled by, is even better. And 90 days rolls by, and I've lost a lot of weight at this point, and I nothing fits. And actually, this is a shirt that I bought back in 2013 when my mother had come to visit. I couldn't wear it. I haven't been able to wear this shirt for like 7 years. Like it's like 2016, I think was the last time I tried to wear it and put it away because it wasn't getting all the way down anymore. The belly was underneath, and you just yeah. So I got a lot of wardrobe back suddenly that I can fit back into because as a guy, I don't buy a lot of clothes. Like for work, I suit and tie and whatnot and things. So that's 90% of what I buy for clothing is what I have to wear to work, and the rest is casual on weekends. Like and
Yeah,
I just keep
I
buying bigger and
find
bigger T-shirts.
I find my wardrobe was always made up of just gifts that people gave me that I kept hold of for years. It's
Oh, my wife still has an issue with me because I got a shirt that I got back in 1996. Yeah, 1996. I got a T-shirt from a Canadian brewery company called Sleeman's, and I still have that shirt, and it's still in good condition. And it's older than a lot of the people I work with half the time. Actually, it is. I know it. I know for a fact it's older than my current doctor.
wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just to go back to one of the points you were talking about before,
mhm.
um, your wife has noticed the change in you. Has this influenced her at all to take up this
Yeah,
diet anyway?
yeah. That was the big thing. Is like when she saw how the results were and how my mental attitude had changed. Uh, she was like, "Okay, I want to try it." I was like, "Okay." Now, from the fact that, like I said, and I still watch a lot of carnivore videos from everybody still because there's always more to learn, and you also want to be able to, like, I don't want to say defend the position, but to uh, properly extol what the virtues of this regime is that it's healthy. You're meant to eat this. My two favorites are Kelly Hogan and Dr. Anthony Chapin. Uh, Kelly, because her enthusiasm is infectious, and we all like a Southern accent. I'm sorry. And then Dr. Anthony Chafee, because my favorite quote is "Plants are trying to kill you." And I can't really disagree. Like I ate plants for most of my life, and it didn't work out well for me. And now that I've gone to a carnivore regime, it's a much healthier outlook. I have more energy. I feel better. I don't feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders either. Like I I've got stress. The part of the story I didn't get to is that on January 8th, my first day back to work after my Christmas break, I was made redundant. Yeah. Yeah, it was after 15 years with the company I was with. They were just like,
No warning?
No, not really. Like I knew something was coming because I've been in the company 15 years and I know, and I haven't been on an active project in like 8 months, 10 months. And that's how I make money for the companies, being on active projects. And suddenly we've got nothing in the pipeline and there's nothing to do. So I was doing training and self education while I'm waiting for a job to come up, and they weren't coming. The ones we were on were all winding down, and there was nothing in the pipeline. So it was like, oh, this isn't going well. So I was doing a lot of self education. So yeah, but it wound up to be the best thing that could have happened, because after that I was like, okay, now what? I'm overweight. I'm not happy, but I no longer do this job because I wasn't. I don't know. I wouldn't say unhappy, but there was no satisfaction in the job anymore. Like, you just going through the motions, making things work, kind of thing. There's no challenge to it because I need to be challenged as an individual to make the job worthwhile, kind of thing. Like, if you're doing it just to work, then you can do anything. I get sweep floors for that. Then. And there was no challenge in it. So it got to the point where it was like, okay, now what do I do? So now what do you do? I changed everything, and then everything changed for me. That's the biggest thing, is like it. I made that change, and now things are changing for me, and that's been the best part. Like, my wife and I's relationship's better than ever. My relationship with my kids is much better now. I have more patience. I'm not I'm not always angry, because that was the other thing. Like, when you're not happy, everything becomes not happy, and that's not a great way to raise your kids, quite frankly. And I'm glad that that did happen, because now my relationship with my boys is much better. So it wouldn't have been good if things had kept going the way they were. So I'm glad that it happened in that regard, and I'm glad that I found the diet and the regime, because it just makes so much more sense now. Like, I don't have to, like, worry about what I'm cooking for dinner. I know I'm having steak, or I'm having bacon wrapped burgers with a couple of scrambled eggs on the side. Like, and then maybe once in a while I'll throw in some liver, I'll throw in some fish. And it, it's all still there as far as variety goes. Because I'll bring that up, because like, people always say, "Isn't that boring?" Well, no, you can do a lot of things with beef. You can do a lot of things with pork. You can do a lot of things with ham and chicken and fish, and it's all animal and it's all good. There's no limitation. Especially, like, I love sashimi. I love uh, fish eggs and fish roe and all kinds, and shellfish. Oh God, my wife. I still don't understand my wife. She doesn't like lobster or shrimp, which it just boggles my mind to no end. But can't get her to have another piece. I got her to try lobster once. She went, nope, don't like it. How? How do you not like lobster? Everyone loves lobster. I haven't even bothered to try with crab. I just, can't be can't be asked anymore now. But she's Eastern European, pork is huge for her. Well, she's so happy that she can have as much as she wants now. It's like, great. And I think she's lost about 8 kilos now. She wants to get back down to her, yeah, and because she'd put on the birth weight and whatnot, and not active anymore, kind of thing. So yeah, so she's lost about 8 kilos, and she probably wants to lose another 10 more. I'm shooting to try to get back to about 195 in pounds. So that's about 13 kilos away from me right now. So it's not, but again, this has only been, I think today is actually 130 days now. I'm on my 130th day, and that's, yeah, 29 kilos in 130 days. That's a lot to lose. And
Yeah, if you could sell a pill that would do that, it'd be
oh
flying off the shelves, right?
yeah, I tell it, like, because we actually had went for lunch with a friend of ours we haven't seen, because uh, well, the COVID lockdown and everything, and then he's all over, and I was all over, so we haven't been able to actually physically see each other in about 2 years almost. And he looked at me, he's like, "What happened to you?" I said, "I'm eating right now. It's a proper human diet." Sorry to steal from Ken Berry, but it's a proper human diet, and you feel it. As soon as you start eating it, you feel the difference, and you'll know. And you go through the adaptation process, and once you become adapted, though, you feel so much better. You feel invigorated, to be honest. Like I couldn't believe the difference because like it started slowly. I'll have to admit that. Like it didn't hit right away, but by about day 60, I was getting twitchy. And about day 60 is when I really started to start putting the mileage on. I started my walk started to get longer because before it would be I'd walk the boys to school and walk the boys back, and it'd take me like 15 minutes or no, hardly any time. So then I started to walk the boys to school. And then it said, okay, I'll walk to the grocery store and do the grocery shopping and walk home from there. And then it became longer and longer. So, okay, well, now I'll go for a little walk. I'll go for a little longer walk before I go to the grocery store. So then I was starting to add on kilometers before I get to the grocery store. And within the month of that, I'm now walking, 10 clicks now on my day off when I don't go to the grocery store, and I'll walk 3 or 4 clicks before going to the grocery store and come back and go grocery shopping every other day just because fridges here and shelf space in the UK is very, very full. So you can't really buy a lot. You have to go every other day, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's great.
So how much money would I need to give you to go back to a regular diet?
Oh, you could. There's no way. I know the difference now. That's the, once you know the difference in both your mental attitude, your physical aspect of how you feel. Like because my boys, we haven't got them off that, so there's still carbs and sugar and stuff in the house. Like, because my wife wants them to eat normal, still like she doesn't want them to be like weird at school and things like. It's like I don't care. I want them to be fit and healthy. So we're still sort of navigating this space between getting them off the sugar because that's all carbs are. It's all sugar. Forget it. No. But my wife still wants them to eat normal. She doesn't want them to be different from their schoolmates. So I was like, well, I don't want them to be, pre-diabetic by the time they're 13 years old, which is happening in the States now. Like, I don't want that for them here. And like in the UK, the obesity rates are shooting up too. It's all over. It's that diet. It's eating all that stuff that isn't what we should be eating. Our cecum's only like this big. A gorilla's is that big. That's why they can eat the fiber. Ours is only this big. We're not supposed to eat that much fiber. Or we've adapted to eat other things, and we should be eating the things we adapted to eat. And it's that simple. You eat what you're supposed to eat, and you're healthy. You don't go up to you don't feed a tiger a bag of donuts and expect them to be healthy. Not every day.
Well, that's right. If you did that, if you went into a zoo and threw a bag of donuts at a tiger, you'd be arrested probably. They'd
Yeah.
call the
Oh,
cops
yeah.
and
Well,
get you
here
dragged
I'm
away.
pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the UK you'd be arrested for animal cruelty and endangerment of wildlife or something. But I see at some of the markets where they've got the shishi frou markets here that you have, the higher end neighborhoods where they've got vegetarian dog treats. And oh, my cat's a vegetarian. No, he's not.
All
Your
I can
your cat's
say is poor pets. So, Jason, is there a way that people can reach out to you if they want to get in contact, like social media or anything?
yeah. I'm on Instagram. I'm Jay Urich, and on YouTube I'm the Canuck Carnivore, Canuck_Carnivore, and email it's jurich@gmail.com if anyone has any questions or wants to ask anything about it because I did like I said I did do a lot of looking into it first before I pulled the trigger because it just sounded too good to be true, and I know that's a lot of people's hesitancies like that can't be right, that can't just work. Well, it does. That's the part. It just does. Why? Because you're eating what you're supposed to eat. Your body's going to get everything out of it that it needs, and it's going to slough off the things that it doesn't. And that it's that adaptation period that's usually the toughest for most people to get through. That's why 30 days isn't really enough because you're not fully fat adapted in the 30 days. I found on by day 40 and 50, I was like, oh, I got energy. I need to do something. I need to move around. And once you start feeling that pep, then you start to be able to make even more changes. Like for me, I probably try to run before I'm walking, but I just, when you feel so much better, it's hard not to be, as my wife says, a little zealoty about it and talking to people. Because like my neighbors now know, then they go, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" Our next door neighbors, and the ladies at the pharmacy where I go get my pills, like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And then my butcher now, he's like, "How much weight have you lost?" I'm like, "Well, 4 stone," because in the UK, everybody measures their weight by stone.
That's always struck me as interesting. Everything's metric except for your weight.
Why? And also stone though. It's not even pounds. They don't even have it it's stone, which is 14 pounds. Like, how is that a logical conversionary scale?
I, I honestly, I feel like it's something to do with stand-up comedy because I think stone always lands better in comedy than
Yeah,
pounds or kilos.
yeah, yeah. Probably it does here, especially because they're
So it's
very
a
particular.
British
Like,
humor thing or something.
yeah, it's about it's about the way that word lands in the sentencing and the way that it's structured, that they've kept it. Otherwise, I don't think there's any reason for it. It's just because kilo does sound a little flighty, I guess. I don't know, but stone, ugly like rock. Anyway,
Yeah. So I'll include the links to your
yeah,
channel and
please do. Yeah,
Instagram and stuff below. Um, Thank you so much for coming on, Jason, and sharing your
thank,
story. I really appreciate it.
thank, thanks a lot for the time, and I really appreciate the fact that you're doing this work and that and it gives people a venue into this regime, this lifestyle, because it's an important thing that we need to sort of propagate.